to thank you, Professor Wang. Thank you for your guest lecturing today. And today we have a host tonight. So let's invite our host. Would you please? I don't know. I haven't have the name yet.
It's me, Jingyi.
Jingyi. Okay, welcome, Jingyi. Now it's your time. Please take over. Thank you.
Okay, so shall we start it?
Yeah.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I'm today's host. I would like to extend a welcome to all of you today. The theme of today's discussion revolves around culture and corporate strategies, a subject that holds profound significance in our interconnected world. As we delve into the topic, we aim to explore the relationship between culture and the corporate world, understanding how culture shapes business practices, values, and success. Before we begin, I would like to express my gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Professor Wang, who has generously offered his insight and expertise on this subject. So now let's just give the attention to Professor Wang.
Okay, thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity to share with everyone about this topic. Now, first of all, I think that I can begin to share with everyone about this topic, and also particularly I want to share with everyone about my slides. Okay, first I want to see if my, first of all, before I do the sharing, how is my voice? Is my voice stable? Is everything okay so far?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now let me do the sharing. Okay, so here I guess you can see my slides here. So let me start to play. Okay. The main reason for me to choose this topic is that basically I've been working in Japan for 8 years now. And the fact is that before I was working in Japan, I was in fact working in the United States, and also of course China, and as well as other countries. I think my for the recent 10 years I've been traveling to different countries, and I feel that culture is in fact a very important factor to affect the business decisions. And I like to take this opportunity to share with everyone about this topic. Okay, in this topic, I will share with you about 2 cases. Basically, I chose these 2 cases because I feel that in their business strategies, it seems to me that a cultural factor is very important to them. So here I have this agenda. And of course, in the beginning, I like to talk a little bit about how culture how we see about the culture from the business perspective. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I want to share with everyone about this. We have basically a few important components when we define the culture. The fact is that I feel that there are a few things. There are several things. In most of the textbooks, I found that there are mainly 3 things about the culture. Number 1 is about the language. We can define the culture with a particular language. Okay. Well, that's one of them, but it's not about everything. And also, in some of the countries, I feel that the religion can affect the culture a lot. For example, you can see that in the Muslim countries, and to the people in these countries, the religious belief and also lots of the rulings based on their belief can affect their behavior. Hence, also they will affect the lots of the business decision. For example, in the banking industry, you probably can see that banks nobody will charge the borrowing rate. Okay, this is actually the cost for the borrowers. The fact is, in the Muslim culture, in the religion, normally a good bank is not considering a profitable bank. The fact is, a good bank is considered as a bank that can not only lend money to the borrowers, but also they cannot charge the high interest rate. If the bank charge high interest rate on the borrower, that is not a good bank. And that's I feel that for the religion, from the religious the perspective, this is in fact a very important factor to form a culture. And then also here we can see that the social structure, in fact, is also a very important the factor to, or maybe a component within the culture. Now, for example, nowadays, many of you understand that in recent years, even though the U.S. denied, the United States didn't want to decouple from China. The fact is, we actually seen that in lots of the U.S. policies, they've been trying to establish the new supply chain in India. So I think that many of the businessmen would actually started to look for this emerging economy, India. But when you make a business decision, you will know that in India, there's actually a very important structure, social structure within this country, and we call it the caste system. So basically within this system, people within the different occupations and maybe different races can have certain social status. So what I'm saying is within the different social status, for example, if I'm in the bottom of this social structure, that means that, well, I can never allowed to work with people in the top of the whole social system. And that is a social structure factor, okay? However, in addition to these, the components in the structure, I would also like to say the way of the living, in fact, is very important. For example, some people, you can see that here in Taiwan, I understand that a lot of people would have the dinner at around 6 p.m., but you should know that in Europe, the fact is it's very possible the dinner would start at maybe 8 p.m. That's actually the living way there in Europe, because I live in London for a couple of years when I was doing my doctoral degree. So here I have the 4 components I feel that I want to share with everyone. So these 4 components can define the culture. So now, first of all, I want to share with everyone a very famous movie. Not quite famous, but back in my time, it was quite famous. Okay, it was in fact an old movie. It's called Mr. Baseball. In case you haven't got a chance to watch this movie before, I want to share with you about within this movie is the movie trailer. Let me share the movie trailer with everyone.
Elliot's really struggling up there, Ralph.
I know I haven't exactly been raking the ball lately.
Word is, he could be traded north.
It's not Canada.
Or west.
No, say it's not Cleveland.
But the smart money says he's headed east.
We got a call from a manager in
Far east.
There's no way I'm gonna play in Japan.
Welcome to Japan, Mr. Baseball.
What do you think of our country?
The airport's nice, and there's lots of little people walking and talking very fast.
Have you slept with Madonna?
What is this? Practice.
We're not athletes.
We're baseball players. I hate this place.
This is your manager. Must shave mustache.
Probably can't even grow one.
He's learning their ways.
What's next? Somebody gonna tell me how to go to the can? Hey, Max, I need somebody to tell me how to go to the can.
They'll warm up after a season or 2. Well, I don't plan to be here that long.
They're learning his ways.
Jack's way, always making jokes.
Do the hokey pokey! Turn yourself around!
Baseball's a game. Games are supposed to be fun. No offense, I don't eat bait.
We have business to discuss.
I'm really not much of a bath guy.
I'll be damned.
In any language, it's a whole new ballgame.
Well, you know, I'm just having so much fun already. Nice speech, Coach. Gave me goosebumps.
goosebumps. Give me a little kamikaze. Give me a little bonsai. Wake up in here.
Tom Selleck,
Fantastic. You got that right.
Mr. Baseball.
There you go.
So this is the movie trailer. I hope that it can bring you some of the memory back, but if not, maybe you can look for it on lots of the maybe cable TV. But the main reason why I want to share with everyone, this movie tells a story about a baseball player, an American player. It was in his sporting career, but one day he got an invitation to play baseball in Tokyo. And then, of course, he started his new life in Japan. And of course, in this movie, he made a girlfriend. And one day, he got his girlfriend brought him back to his girlfriend's home. Well, life is so much luck. So, in his girlfriend's home, he met his coach. Okay, the girlfriend's father, in fact, was his coach. Okay, so this is the here you can see that how from here you can see that how the West and the East would be the different in terms of the at the dinner table. And the fact is the main reason why I want to share this with you is that, well, the way we eat and the way we live actually shows the different culture. So now let's have a look at this, the Asian and Western dinner etiquette.
It's polite. It's okay. Jack?
What?
Bad luck.
ちゃんとヒロコ教えてあげなさいよ。
Okay, so here we have all of this, the story I want to share with everyone. The fact is, you probably can see that at the dinner table, it shows how a culture can be so different. Now, one thing I want to point out that here, you can see that here in the movie, the fact is you can see he was eating the noodle with the sipping. The reality is, yes, you can do that in Japan, but it's not so loud. And the main reason why it's so loud is because it's for fun. This is a comedy. So that's the main reason. Just want to share with you everyone about that. So here I want to talk about the how we define and how we distinguish a culture here. Now, in general, there are three ways to distinguish the cultures. Now, first one is the approach, we call it context approach. Okay, the second one is the cluster, and the third one is the dimensions approach. Now, today I'm not going to go through every approach to define it. I just want to briefly introduce to everyone about how we define the culture. Now, first of all, context approach has been very common, and it was there like the almost like half century before. Okay, this was actually an old theory in the cultural in culture related the study. Okay, so basically we define the context approach is the context is defined as the underlying background upon which the social interactions takes place. Basically means that the degree that we need to make the underground or the background communication. Now, in that case, you can see that Asian cultures are normally referred to as the high context culture. So you can see that here we have the high context culture, okay, and in most of the cases you can see that these are the Asian cultures, okay. That means that the reality is, in order for a good communication to be working, we need lots of the underground or the background communications, okay. Now another one here, we have this low context culture, mostly the Western cultures. Okay, I think that's quite clear. I hope now here I can in business, there's actually a way to distinguish high context from the low context cultures. Now, good reason. Okay, an example I want to share with everyone. About over 10 years ago, I was working for the University of Colorado, Denver. And that was in fact the time I got the contract. I was working at University of Colorado and at the economics department. My contract at that time. My contract has at least the 4 or 5 the A4. Okay, but that's the fact is in the United States letter size, but it's pretty much close to A4 for the pages. Okay. And it defines everything about my obligations and what things I should do. Of course, it also says about the salary that I will receive, okay, the bonus, something like that. And that's my contract. Now, ever since I started to work in Japan, and now I am working in Japan as a full professor, my contract is not just only one A4 page. And within this A4 page, I can only see there's actually my name and my rank. Okay, it doesn't even say about my salary, and that's it. And also the date. Ever since from the beginning, the date was actually the first day they started to hire me. Okay, and that's it. But the fact is, on this contract, it says nothing about my obligations. Basically, it simply means this one page simple contract simply says anything about academic, about research, about education is my responsibility. So here is the difference. The difference is that in the United States, everything that is not said, that is not written in the contract, you don't have to do. Okay. Now, for example, if the contract didn't say that you need to provide the students with like the career counseling, in that case, you don't need to do that. And if the student come here to ask you about that, you can actually simply just say, I'm sorry, you don't have to say it's not in the contract, but I'm sorry, I am not good at this. I may not be able to provide my advice to you. That's it. You don't have to do that. But the fact is, in Asia, in Japan, in Taiwan, everything related to education, related to students, well, that's your responsibility. Okay, and that's quite typical in the high context culture. That means that, well, it's not clear. Okay, in the official contract, is very ambiguous. Okay, but we all know that that's actually it's implied in this ambiguous contract, and that's high context culture. Now here I also want to talk about dimension approach. Now this dimension approach, look at the different cultures. Look at the culture from different dimensions. Okay. Now here I have several the dimensions. I don't I feel that I don't need to talk about too much the details, okay? But there are a few things I want to share with everyone. For example, in some of the cultures, actually there's a high power distance. Some of the cultures actually have the lower power distance, okay? And Taiwan can be considered in the middle. Now, let me give you one example. Japan can be considered as the high power distance. So therefore, in Japan, here you probably don't get to see the chairman of the company. You don't get to see the president, and you don't even see the CEO because they are actually higher up. Now, within the university, we have the university president, and you don't get to see the university president because they are the higher up. They are the father of this institution, okay? And that is the high power distance. And the fact is, it's important that you know when you are walking with the people higher up, you need to take one step behind. You cannot be at the same walk with him or her at the same time. And that is the high power distance. Okay. Well, in the United States, the US is actually a culture with the low power distance. You can call someone by his or her first name as long as he agrees. Okay. And that's the low power distance. And another thing here that I remember, I had a couple times to sit down to chat with the chancellor of the university, and that is the very low power distance. Now, also, I want to share with everyone here, the gender role can also define the culture, okay? Now, in some of the cultures that you can see that male can make the decisions, and this is particularly significant in Japan. So now the next one, I want to share with everyone about this. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, so let me jump quickly to this one. So this one we have the Japan's Abenomics. Basically says that in the term of the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, he was proposing the womenomics, okay? But the reality is even the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was proposing womenomics. It is still very challenging for the women's role in this Japanese society. So we have this report.
On this first full day of his Asia trip, President Trump met with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, whose ruling coalition won 2/3 of the seats in Japan's parliament last month. During his 5 years in power, one of Abe's top economic goals has been to expand Japan's workforce and increase productivity by seeing more women employed. The approach has become known as womenomics. In tonight's signature segment, NewsHour Weekend Special Correspondent Amy Gutman reports from Tokyo on how Abe's plan must also overcome demographic trends and cultural obstacles.
With Japan's population declining by 300,000 people last year, its workforce continues to shrink. Japan has virtually no immigrants working their way up the economic ladder to fill open jobs. And with more than a quarter of its people over 65 years old, Japan is aging faster than any other industrialized nation. When Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe took office 5 years ago, he recognized the economic impact of these factors and turned to an underutilized section of Japanese society for a fix, bringing more women into the workplace.
A society where all women who can challenge their dreams at any time or place. We will continue to introduce policies for women by 2020.
Womenomics is the name for Abe's policy to close Japan's gender gap and fuel the economy with programs giving women more opportunities to work and be promoted.
Okay, so now let me stop here. So basically, even though the politician has been proposing womenomics, hoping to give the women more the empowering women and giving more the role playing in the actual decision-making process, the reality is it's not that easy. Okay, so the next one is the Kishida Cabinet's office, and I want to share with you, there's actually in the lots of the ministers in the cabinet, none of them was female. So let's have a look at this report.
田総理大臣がおととい立ち上げた変化を力にする内閣。今日は副大臣と政務官の人事が決まりました。閣僚人事ではこれまでの女性2人から過去最多タイとなる5人を起用しましたが、先ほど行われた副大臣たちの記念撮影を見てみると。
So now let me stop here. You can see that this actually pretty much says about I don't have to say anything, and then you will know about the gender, the female role in this society. Okay, and that's actually pretty much defined the Japanese culture. Okay, none of the here, the ministers here, none of them is female. Okay, so that's something I would like to share with you. And now let me go back to this the dimensions approach. So this dimension approach tries to define the culture from the different perspectives, and that is in fact the idea. Okay, so now let me moving forward from here. So this slide shows the Pew. This slide shows the Pew Research Center. This is in fact an NPO in the United States. Basically, what it's they have I think the back in 2021. Before that, they have done an investigation about the different cultures. Okay, and basically the question they were asking was what makes life meaningful. This is the main question in the questionnaire. What makes life meaningful? Okay, overall they ask the same questions in different countries to different people. So in their investigation, basically most of the people reply, the 38% of the people reply family and children is the most important thing and make their life meaningful. Okay, and the second one is occupation and career. The third one is material well-being. That means money. The third one, in fact, is the money factor. Okay, and also there are other factors. But I want to share with everyone, they conducted this questionnaire on different countries. What interested me is that here I chose a few countries to make a comparison. Okay, so now let's have a look at this. So here we have this investigation, and basically they were asking what makes your life meaningful. And then if you look at this, for the US, UK, Japan, basically choose the family factor is the most important thing. The reason why I'm here is that I cherish the family the most important value in their life. Okay, but if you look at the South Korea actually the South Korean people says that here you can see that a material well-being is very meaning that, well, from here you can see that Koreans are making money. Well, if I want, you need to give me sufficient money so that I can satisfy, and that is the material well-being. For Taiwanese, a very important factor is the society factor. Well, that actually, this is the English society. For Taiwanese, I feel that the very important factor, in fact, is material well-being. But the fact is, Taiwanese did consider the whole societal structure. For example, Taiwanese think that the safety in the society is very important factor, and also how I can contribute myself to this society. Okay, so in this case, society make my life more meaningful. We need to have the very good society. For example, Taiwanese always proud of the very good healthcare system. A good healthcare system means that to Taiwanese we have a very stable and a nice society. This is a very important factor to most of the Taiwanese. And they also have to discover that Taiwanese also like the material well-being. Money is very important factor. And then the next one is the family, which is very, so from the order of these the three factors, okay, you can define the Taiwanese culture, which is the different from Korean culture, Japanese culture. Okay, and this is actually the way I see it is quite interesting. What makes your life meaningful, and the people in different society actually have the different order, and from these the different orders actually we can learn how we can define culture. Okay.
On this.
So now here, I think that one thing I would like to share with everyone is that here, normally this is a practice. I have my students. I have my student to do the check mark, okay? And basically, this is a practice to check if the students understand the definitions of the culture, okay? But basically, what I can do for everyone, for the time being, I'm thinking that maybe you would agree with me. Here we can define Japan as a high context culture. United States and also can define as a low context culture. China can be defined as a high context culture. Okay, I think that's easy. Because I think it's pretty much the similar in Japan or in China. Lots of the decision with when you see the decision, actually before the decision was made, you can see that lots of the background communications has been going on here. From also here you can see that the power distance. Basically, you probably can see that the U.S. has lower power distance, okay, while Asian culture, Japan, China may have the higher power distance, okay. Individualism and collectivism basically means that which goal is more important, individual or personal goal, or the organization's goal? Which one is more important? If you think that the whole community or organization's goal is more important than personal goal, then in that case we call it collectivism. Japan obviously is actually more like the society of collectivism. While in the United States, the US is more individualism. Okay, China, on the other hand, is pretty much in between. Well, I have seen the Chinese, I think the personal goal is more important. Sometimes they don't really care about the whole organizations, but that's my personal opinion. Okay, general, that means that who gets to make the major decisions. Okay, here, Japan, pretty much masculinity. Okay, I used to say that for the United States, I think it's not quite clear. But a lot of my the American students said, well, the U.S. well, there's a higher percentage that males get to make more decisions. Well, these are actually from my American students. Well, but in my home, okay, my home is definitely a society of femininity. Well, my wife always get to make the major decision. So myself, that's actually a society femininity. Okay. Now, back to what we are saying here, uncertainty avoidance. Well, I think that it's quite interesting that Japan, in fact, is a society of high uncertainty avoidance. Many of you, if you ever got a chance to work with Japanese, then you know that they keep asking questions. They want to confirm lots of the things. So Japanese, in fact, is a culture of Japan, in fact, is a culture of high uncertainty avoidance. Well, China pretty much the similar. Well, China not so high, but pretty much in the middle here. United States, on the other hand, depends, but the fact is the Americans are quite straightforward. Okay, so sometimes they would ask this thing. They want to get the teaching experience. I feel that some Americans, they want to get the key points. So as long as these key points are clear, they have no problem with the minor points. So I would actually like to put the question mark here. Okay, well, in most of the cases, you can see that the Asian culture are very long-term orientation. Americans, I don't think that Americans are not the long-term orientation, but the fact is, I also feel that in my years of experience, they have a different way to think about the goals. Okay, so if you simply quickly define the long-term or the short-term orientation, well, I wouldn't say the Americans are just short-term orientation. Okay, so that's pretty much the way I see it. That's the personal opinions, but I wonder if you have any questions. So let me stop here. I want to see if anyone has the questions about how I see the culture. Or if you have questions, we can have the discussion.
George?
Yes.
Me? Can you raise an example to explain the differences between long-term and short-term orientation?
Okay.
Thank
well,
you.
You can see that lots of the Japanese and Taiwanese actually like to save money. And the fact is, in Asia, the savings rate is always higher compared to the Western cultures. And if you visit the U.S., you probably see Americans, so nobody would purchase a lot, particularly when they go shopping in the supermarkets. They normally push the trolley, and then within the trolley they put a lot of things, and they purchase a lot of things. Okay, and then even after they purchase a lot of things, after they go back home, they discover, wow, these food just expire. They simply just throw it away. They didn't actually think about the long term, about the saving money, the buying the house, or the saving money for the pension. Okay, so you probably can see the Asian culture would think more about that, and that's how I define it, particularly from the financial concepts perspective.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Students, I wonder if you have any questions, or you have anything you'd like to discuss about so far about this culture concept. Well, if not, you can keep thinking about the questions. And now let me continue with my topics. Okay. So now I want further to talk about how the culture can affect the business, the decisions. Now, first of all, we need to classify culture into the national culture and the organizational culture. The fact is, in the business, these two factors would sometimes it would be the factor. It would be affected by the national culture. Sometimes it's affected by organizational culture. Sometimes, in fact, it's interactions. Okay, so now here I want to share with you about this case. This is in fact a famous company, Ippudo. Ippudo, recently, I wonder if our student ever next time when you come to Japan, they started a new brand. Okay, and this new brand is called Tokyo-based ramen. Okay, maybe you can check it. You can look for it or Google it on internet to look for the new brand. But first of all, I want to share with everyone about this company, Ippudo. The fact is, Ippudo initially actually reflect a lot about the national culture, Japanese culture. Okay. So now, first of all, I want to share with everyone is in Japanese culture, Japanese always think that ramen is part of their culture. Okay. Well, many of you may think that noodle, ramen, actually is a food of the hydrate carbonated the food, which means 碳水化合物. But the fact is, for Japanese, this is a very important culture. They have to cherish the every detail of this ramen. Okay, so first of all, I want to emphasize the importance of this ramen in Japanese culture. And there's actually a famous movie. This is the movie called The Ramen Girl. I want to share the movie trailer with everyone. If you can see, maybe you can see this on the other platforms.
So, Abby, fresh off the plane, I hear.
2 weeks, actually.
Cheers. Welcome to Japan.
Ethan?
The rent's paid up for the next 6 months. You can stay. It's all right with me.
For Abby,
What should I do? What should I do?
what seemed like the bitter end
I thought I was so brave coming to Tokyo, but Ethan left me.
was the beginning of a new journey.
I want to cook ramen. I want to make people happy the way you do.
朝の5時の5時。
Hi. I will clean for you. I'll clean the windows, the pots, the floors. I'm training to become a ramen chef.
俺は先生だぞ。てめえは弟子だぞ、この野郎。
I think I know. Let me try. Ow! I did everything I saw you do.
魂が何？
スープ長さ入れてみっことだ。There's something about the Japanese and making the perfect bowl of soup. It's kind of beautiful.
So now let me start here. So back in the olden time, ramen was actually the ramen restaurant was mainly for the blue-collar workers. In Japan, we learned that after World War II, Japanese worked very hard. So there were many the blue-collar workers, and these blue-collar workers mostly in the lunchtime or in the dinner time, they want to quickly feed their stomach, so they simply just went into the ramen restaurant. Okay, so you probably can see that traditionally, not many females would like to enter these kind of the restaurants. But the fact is, if you look at the Ippudo, they actually try to do the business in a different way. Okay, so I want to share with everyone about how they started their business. So now, first of all, here I want to share with everyone, Ippudo is actually initially a famous Japanese company, and of course, now that in terms compare with other ramen chains, that this is actually is the most popular the ramen restaurant, and they have lots of the branch stores in many countries. Okay, so as you can see that here, the founder started the business to promote a higher level of the customer service. Basically, he was saying that, well, back in the olden time, lots of the people, particularly educated people, don't want to get into the ramen restaurant, and he would like to change the culture. Okay, so from in the beginning, ever since the beginning, he would like to introduce this so-called Japanese hospitality. Oh, I'm sorry about that. This Japanese hospitality. Okay, I have the video about an interview on the founder. So now let's have a look at this.
日本ではいただきます、いつも思ってるのは僕の、先祖、僕の父親母親、そしてその前おじいちゃんおばあちゃんの名前を呼びます、ありがとう Thank you いただきますで食べ始める。これは僕のルーティンでしてます。そ の頃日本のラーメン屋っていうのは35年ぐらい前はもう基礎が汚かったのね。匂いも臭いし、ラーメンを作る人たちなんかこう怖いし、ね、だからそれがみんな女の子たちとっても嫌だ。若い人が全然いなかったから、ラーメンっていうものはもう絶対僕が自分で買えると思ってるの。だからそういう意味でも風を吹かせるっていう一風堂。
So you can see that actually the founder of the Ippudo company, actually he wanted to change this kind of culture by bringing in the traditional Japanese, the Japanese hospitality, and he didn't want his company, the restaurant like the old Japanese ramen shop. Actually, what he's want is that I think that everyone is welcome in my ramen shop, and that's actually how he started his business. Okay, and so here we have the Ippudo company, and the reason why I want to introduce this to everyone is that this so-called Japanese hospitality, in fact, is deeply influenced by the national culture, that is the Japanese culture. Okay, so you probably can see that in Japan they make it very Japanese the style, and of course the interior of the ramen restaurant has been evolving here even now in Japan. And well, even though the interior has been evolving, has been changing, but the fact is they train their attendants to show this so-called Japanese hospitality in terms of the language. So ever since the beginning, you can see that the way how they treat the customers with the Japanese, the hospitality. Okay, and the fact is you can also see that even though these restaurants now has been expanded to different countries, in New York, in France, also in different countries, you can see that they always speak Japanese because they believe this is the very traditional Japanese hospitality. We want to welcome our special customers. Therefore, we would like to use take our Japanese hospitality to treat our special customers. Okay, and then I introduce this to everyone because obviously this is the company deeply influenced by the national culture. Okay, and then of course we learned that in the company go public and got publicly listed on Tokyo Stock Exchange in 2017. This is actually the time, and the fact is at that time, that was before the COVID. They did have the good business. They have the growing the sales revenue. Okay, so I want to share with everyone about the video about a public listing.
先週東証マザーズに上場したのはラーメン店一風堂を全国に展開している力の素ホールディングス。その株価は公開3日後に売り出し価格600円のおよそ5倍に上昇。日本国内のみならずいち早く海外にも目を向け積極的に出店している一風堂。社長の清宮俊之さんにこのタイミングでの上場した理由を伺ってみました。
一つ目が人材のところですね。より多くの方にこう。
Now, let me stop here. The fact is, as I have mentioned to everyone, Japanese is very proud of the culture, about particularly their ramen culture. If not the COVID, the fact is this company Ippudo can fastly expand it to even more countries. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, the sales has been seriously hit by this pandemic. Okay, and then the next one I want to share with you is, in fact, the company. You can see that this company, in fact, if you look at its financial numbers, you can see that it's in fact another high profit business, high profit margin business. Okay. So we have, you can see that they have this international expansion. Now in some of the countries, now in Japan, in some of the countries, you probably can see that they have been including the logo items. Okay, they have been trying to localize. Some of the Japanese firms are trying to do that. Now, for example, here in Japan, you don't get to see some of the items here, and the fact is that you probably can see that here in Malaysia. You can get to see all these items. They bring in maybe some Taiwanese food. They want to introduce this to the locals, okay, and also they have the other items. So there's the international expansions, okay. Now, recently the company has been trying to take certain international strategy to particularly after the COVID, okay. Now, for example, here they have this so-called new restaurant concept. The new restaurant concept, the fact is they were trying to renovate the interior of their restaurant, and they want to make it more international. Okay, they want to make it look differently from other ramen shops. Okay, they want to make it unique. So it's not just a place for the customers to come in just for eating. Basically, they want to make this restaurant, not only the customers are here for eating, but also they can here to enjoy some Japanese hospitality, Japanese culture. Okay, also the company actually in their international expansion, they were particularly targeting at the young people. In the United States, ramen was considered not the cheap food, a kind of the cheap food. Therefore, who can afford this food? The fact because the price is higher. Therefore, they actually opened the restaurant in a richer the community. Okay, so in the richer neighborhood. So, for example, in New York, they actually opened the restaurant in Soho area. Okay, so actually the location, they carefully select the location. And then the targeting, you can see that while they were sitting in this area, the fact is they were targeting at the upscale, the customers, and the young people, are more open-minded to accept the different cultures, and that is actually the audience they were trying to targeting at. Okay, and the fact is that you can see that most of the Japanese food actually were aiming high. Therefore, the price actually is considered not so cheap. Okay. So the very important factor when I introduced when I was talking about this company, they want to integrate the corporate culture. They want to integrate the national culture to their operation. Okay. Now, for example, the national culture, as I have mentioned, is this so-called Japanese hospitality and the corporate culture. They think that this is very important part. And the company, in fact, is willing to take the national culture and make it become the corporate culture. Now, for example, they make it very standard about how to welcome the customers in the beginning. And also they make it a very standard, kind of the scenario when a customer would like to order from the menu, they ask the flight attendant to take one knee down. Okay, so you can see that normally they will say that when their attendants are taking orders from the customer, you can see that they ask the attendants not standing higher than your customers, which means that their attendants will have to kneel down in order to listen carefully from their customers. That's actually considered as Japanese hospitality, and they treat this customer as a special customer. They make this national culture become an organizational culture. And also, excuse me, and also as I have mentioned, they recognize that, well, localization is very important. We want to have the local customers coming to our restaurant. Therefore, they try to include more local items into the menu. Okay. So here you can see that the recognition, the local contents, and that's one of the strategy they have been taking. And this strategy has been applied by the same company, Muji, that the case that I'm going to talk about later. So now here I would like to stop here to show this the financials to everyone. And basically, you probably can see that for this company, the fact is their profit margin in fact is not very high. So first of all, if you look at this, we have here the sales. Okay, if you look at this, the sales, they have this sales domestic. Okay, and if you look at it here, overall they have this sales. But if you have a look at this, the number, the operating profit margin, in fact, is only 6%. Almost every year. It's in fact not very high. So basically, the main reason why I want to share this with everyone, I think this is actually more clear. In 2019, the operating profit margin is only 3.48%, which means that the companies are operating at a low profit margin. Low profit, only 3.5%, which is in fact not high. The reality is this business is considered as a labor-intensive business. And the fact is the profit margin in fact is not high. Now here I have a question for everyone. Now I always look at a company from the financial side. Why a ramen shop? Why a ramen shop can have the low profit margin? What would be the reasons for them for this low profit margin? I want to ask everyone. Anyone care to take a guess why this company has a low profit margin?
Professor Wang, if the students are too shy, maybe we can suggest them to have their answer in the chatting box, because this is the second class.
Feel free to do so. Feel free to do so. Cost. Thank you. That's actually the reason. But why, in terms of the cost, what kind of a cost can lead to the high cost so that they have the low profit margin? Anyone? Well, if you don't know, let me share this with everyone. Give me a second. I want to share this with you, but the fact is, it's in fact in the video. But let me share with everyone about this. Okay. Okay, so this is in fact in the video, and the fact is that if you can remember, I don't think I have to play this video to that part yet. So now let me share with everyone my screen again, and then I want you to have to look at the video. Here I have the students that they are having their business in a high price, the region like the shopping mall. So you are, I take it you are talking about they are paying high rent. So they have the high fixed cost. That's correct. That's correct. The fact is the fixed cost. The rent is always a very important fixed expense. But the reality is it's not the only reason for that. So now let me share this video again with everyone. Okay, so this is in fact the video I want to share with you. So now this time I will play this video a bit. Let's watch this video and for a bit longer time.
先週東証マザーズに上場したのはラーメン店一風堂を全国に展開している力の素ホールディングス。その株価は公開3日後に売出価格600円のおよそ5倍に上昇。日本国内のみならずいち早く海外にも目を向け積極的に出店している一風堂。社長の清宮俊之さんにこのタイミングでの上場した理由を伺ってみました。
一つ目が人材のところですね。より多くの方に来ていただける環境が作れそうなので、その人材獲得っていうところが一つ目の理由です。で、二つ目が透明性っていうところであったり信頼性とかをより上げていきたいって思いが強いですね。会社としていよいよ次のシーンに行くぞっていうスタートラインに立てたのかなっていう感覚の方が強いですね。
日本人のソウルフードであるラーメンを武器にもっともっと会社をそして経済を活性化していきたいという野望。そんな多くの日本人が1回は食べたことがある一風堂を食レポ。果たして柴田はどんな風にレポートするのでしょうか。
どういうラーメンなんですか。
こちらはコクと深みのある豚骨ラーメンです。
いただきます。
いざ実食。
美味しい。王道の豚骨スープに辛味噌のピリッとした辛さと香味油の香ばしい香りと、さらにニンニクとネギのいい香りが鼻を抜けて、かなりコクと深みがあるスープですね。美味しいな。麺も弾力があって、
店員さんの説明通り模範解答のような食レポ。さすがは優等生フリーアナ。
美味しい。すいません、蛭子さん、いただいてます。
その市場規模は年間およそ5600億円。まさに国民食といえるラーメン。そんなみんな大好きラーメン業界の裏側を元店長が告白。
自分でやっていたお店ではだいたい 30% ぐらいに収められるようにはやってました。
さらに
これ本当に周りの麺マジで気にならないです。
日々進化を遂げるラーメン業界。最新のラーメン事情を徹底取材。ラーメン店の実情を語ってくれたのは八王子でラーメン店を経営していた西村正史さん。西村さんに追加料金100円で提供していたさまざまなトッピングの原価を聞いてみると、
だいたいメンマですと8円ぐらい、海苔だと13円、卵が1つ18円で、チャーシューだとだいたい1枚20円、もやしとかになりますと100g 使って9円とか、ネギとかにも 50g ぐらいで20円で、あとコーンとかも 50g 使って20円ぐらいの計算でやってました。
メンマやもやしは原価率 10% 以下。トッピングは注文されればされるほど大きな利益が出る原価率になっていたようです。
一番トッピングで注文されて嬉しかったのって何ですか。
僕はやっぱりもやしですね。やっぱり量もある程度見栄えもいいし、で仕入れ金額も安いし、でお客様もお腹いっぱいになるし、もやしとかも安い、野菜系でかさ増しができるようなものとかっていうのはやっぱ嬉しいですよね。
さらに麺の原価率はというと1玉45円。豚骨ラーメン用の麺は太麺のため少々お高めの1玉52円とのこと。さらにラーメンの命ともいえるスープ、その原価を聞いてみると、
チンタンスープって透き通ったスープでだいたい70円ぐらいの金額ですね。豚骨スープになると僕のところだと210円から220円ぐらい。
スープだけで。
はい。
しかしこの豚骨スープへのこだわりが閉店への第一歩に。
原価がだいたい 40% 以上になっちゃったので、利率はどんどん下がっていく。で集客数がもうどんどん上がっていけば利益としてはなったんですけども、ただ 集率も変わらない状態で、その原価でっていうと、やっぱ持続していくのが難しくなってしまいます。
お客さんに美味しいラーメンを提供したいという一心で豚骨ラーメンにこだわりすぎたという西村さん。最終的にその原価率は4。
Okay, so now let me stop here. This is actually the slide. This is actually the part. I took it from the video. And I want my student to think about. The fact is that here, okay, now if you think about the cost here, okay, and we can think that this profit margin. So here, in this case, you can see the gross profit margin. This is the gross profit margin, and the gross profit margin is only 41%. Imagine you take 41%, and now it can be even lower because recently there has been increasing the raw materials. Yes, thank you, Eric. Eric was saying the increasing raw materials. Okay, and you can see that with increasing raw materials, the gross profit margin is only 40%, 40. And then you have to consider the ramen chef is consider their salary, their wages. The fact is it's very high, so they have to pay that for the ramen. They have to pay that, and also they have to choose because they carefully choose the location. With the location, they have to pay the high rent. So with all these, the fixed costs to consider, the fact is you can see that the net profit margin, in fact, the operating profit margin, in fact, is not very high, 3 to 5%. Okay, and normally in reality it is I would challenge my student to think about to do the break-even analysis. So here, this is the break-even analysis I prepare for my student, and the fact is that with this, I ask my student this question, and I ask them to conduct the break-even analysis. My question is, at least how many ramen balls does the restaurant will have to sell in order to make money? This is the very typical break-even analysis. I had the students to think about the variable cost, the fixed cost, and in that case, they have to think about if they can come up with an estimation with the variable cost, the fixed cost. They can actually estimate how much money how many ramen balls they have to sell. Okay, so here I give them a hint. The hint was start your analysis by identifying and estimating the fixed cost, and of course you really need to estimate the variable cost. So in this case, I already told them that the variable cost is about 60%, and the gross profit margin is 40%, and then start your analysis from here. Okay, this is in fact a challenge to my students that I normally would teach my student about in the beginning about how you can analyze the company. Okay, in general, if the company can have the gross profit margin, the fact is the company will also make higher net profit margin as well. Okay, so that's in fact about the business I want to share with everyone. So any questions about the ramen business, about Ippudo, or anything that we had so far? The price they said is too low. Here I received a message from the student. The price they said is too low. Well, now recently they increased the price. So for example, in the video it says the price is about 750 yen. Recently in Japan, the ramen price has been increased to like the 980, 950. Okay. If you got a chance to visit Japan, you probably can see that the famous Ichiran ramen has been increased to, I think it's 980 yen. Okay, so yes, recently they have increased, but please understand, to Japanese ramen, they already have the some the stereotype price about the ramen. So when you said the price is set too low, well, the fact is if they increase the price too high, that would actually scare lots of the customers away. So the fact is they also have to consider whether the customers can take this price. Okay. But in the end, I want to share with everyone, this ramen business, in fact, is number one, very labor intensive. Okay, very labor intensive. Number two, it's in fact not a high profit margin business. So in order for this company, one way for them to do it is that they need to expand it. They need to open more the ramen restaurants, because only if this way they can sell more ramens. And if they can sell more ramens, they can lower down the variable cost. Therefore, they can increase the more profit. Now imagine, this is actually very similar to Foxconn company, Honghai. Foxconn company also have the profit margin, but how can they make business? How can they make profit? The way they make profit is they take as many orders as they can, so they can actually increase more sales. Imagine if the sales can increase to a larger number, even times the net profit margin is only 3%, you still have the high profit. That's in fact the idea. So my point is like this. So here, let me share this the idea with everyone. My point is that, well, here we have the sales and times the net profit margin. This is the net profit margin. Now the net profit margin can be low, let's say 3%. Okay, and this is the pie. This is the profit, net income. So one way the company was doing is that if they can increase the sales, even though this is low, it doesn't matter. They can actually increase the profit, and the money, actually the dollar amount is what counts in the end. Okay, and that's it. The fact is, this is actually the Ippudo strategy and also Foxconn strategy. And I hope that's clear for everyone. Okay. Now, I think that we already have the talk for about 1 hour. I think that maybe it's time that we can take a short break.
Yeah, I just want to remind you, maybe you and the other student need a short break. Great.
Yeah, but before we take the break, I want to see if the student have any questions so that I can answer before because after the break, I want to introduce the Muji company.
I have one question.
Yep.
I want to ask, are there any other ways to decrease the cost of raw materials or cooperate with other companies like any other ramen shops to increase their sales?
Well, one way for them to do so, particularly in their international expansion, is that they want to improve the more local items so they can attract more the customers. Now, this is in fact a strategy that has been taken by the KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken in China. Kentucky Fried Chicken in China, you can see that traditionally in the United States, they were selling the fried chicken, but in China, not only they are selling fried chicken, the fact is you can also order the noodles, bento, rice, the everything, almost everything, and also the breakfast, even the soybean milk, 豆浆, and also you can actually order lots of the pastries, Chinese pastries in KFC. Why they want to do so? Because they want to attract as many as customers they can. So even KFC in China price is considered as a restaurant setting the economical pricing. But the fact is, with this increasing the more local items into their menu, they can attract more customers, which will increase their sales.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions for now, let's take a break. So I want to have the host to tell us when we can come back after the break. And then if you have any more questions, I'll answer your questions after the break.
Okay, so right now in Taiwan's timer is like 8 8:17. So we'll get back in 8:27. Okay, is it okay for the 10 minutes? Okay, so if you have any question, you can just type in the chat so that the professor can understand your question. So let's take a break.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a break.
Hi, everybody. Right now is 8:27. Is everybody here? Okay. So I think there's a lot of question in chat. So maybe Professor can first answer the question.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Thank you. So here the first question is yes, there are actually different cultures in different countries. We understand that, but the fact is to attract the customers. You know that even in a foreign country, lots of the foreigners actually like to try or like to experience the Japanese culture. For example, Taiwanese like Japanese culture. So what I'm saying is the company, the Ippudo, was trying to maintain it like a very Japanese taste. Okay, that's one thing. They hope to attract more the interested customers. That's what they do. And of course, in order for them to get more customers, they also want to. They actually in Japan they never include other the foreign items, but the fact is in a foreign country, for example, in Malaysia, in Singapore, I have seen that Ippudo try to include more local items so they can attract the more interested customers. But still, they want to maintain it very much the Japanese taste, and that's the one important thing to them. Now about another question, a question about the general positive on the page 8, in the handouts. The general positive is actually the positive values. Now, to some people, they believe that these positive values are very important. 正面的价值. So I think that what I'm saying is here to some people, they feel that if we can get what makes our life meaningful, to realize that something positive, and that is actually how they interpret this the question, this answer. Okay, I hope I have to answer your questions. So with the remaining time, I want to continue with these cases. And the fact is, you can see that so far I introduced the Ippudo case, try to improve, to turn the national culture into its corporate culture. Now the next one, the next case actually says the more recent change of the Japanese culture. In the past, you probably can see that back in the time when my grandfather, my grandmother, I still remember my grandmother, actually she accepted, she was educated in Japanese, the style education. So I remember my grandmother actually, when she was meeting someone, she always well dressed, and she always comb her hair. But what I'm saying is nowadays, the younger generation of the Japanese don't do that. The younger generation, the young people. So what I'm saying is culture is evolving, it's changing. And the fact is a recent change, in fact, can be, we can actually choose the company to talk about this recent change. And this company I want to talk about is the Muji, okay? So now let me continue to share with everyone about this Muji company. Now, first of all, I want to share with everyone is that you can see that here, I actually add a subtitle. The subtitle is that an adventure to international. Muji initially was not thinking about going international, but the fact is nowadays Muji has become an international brand. Okay, so first of all, let me talk about how Muji was established. Muji was back in the olden time, before 1970. The fact is there was the famous department store group. It's the Seibu department store, and under Seibu actually has a subsidiary, that is the supermarket division, and that subsidiary is the Seiyu, Shio. And the fact is one day the Seiyu discovered that, well, how come we have so much the high inventory? Why some higher priced items couldn't be sold? So by checking their inventory, they found that some higher priced items are still stocked in their inventory. So they discovered this problem. And then they were thinking, how can they increase their sales? So they came up with an idea. we already know that Japanese consumers demand high quality products. So they came up with the idea that this idea is that if we can make the same product with a high quality, the same quality, but without the brand, they feel that the brand that actually is costly, branding is costly. So if we can remove the brand, maybe we can lower the price, which will attract more customers. And initially they came up with this no brando idea. So they came up with this Muji. So initially Muji was in fact a division under Seiyu. Okay. And it turns out this idea has become very successful. They discovered that the no brand, the product has been sold very well. Consumers like this type of product. Possibly it's because particularly after the lost decades, and the Japanese actually are not as rich. Japanese are not as rich as before, so they probably want to save some money. And it turns out this idea was very good. Initially, Muji was the private brand. So what is the private brand? Basically, if you want to buy Muji, this no brand product, you probably have to go to Seiyu in order to get it. So the very famous private brands that here, many of you probably have visited Costco. Costco has this famous private brand, and then it's Kirkland. 7-Eleven and Family Mart all have its own private brand. And particularly some of you, if you want to buy the Walmart is the largest retail company in the world from the United States. And they are in Japan as well. They acquired it. Eventually they acquired Seiyu. Seiyu after some time, the Muji was separated from the Seiyu. Without Muji, Seiyu actually was not doing so well. Eventually, the Seiyu was acquired by American Walmart. Okay, so now you can still see Seiyu in Japan, but in Seiyu you can see if you want to buy Walmart's great value product, you can actually go to Seiyu to buy Walmart's product. Okay, so that's the private brand. So ever since that, we have this independent company, Muji. So now the Muji was actually considered as a very much a representative of the minimalism. I want to share with everyone about what minimalism is. Minimalism, in fact, is an idea not only proposed by Muji, but also proposed by many Japanese. Basically, what they were thinking is that they want to reduce the unnecessary consumptions. If these goods can still be used, can still be useful, they rather fix it, repair it, instead of buying a new one. So that's in fact the minimalism idea. I asked the Muji people, and I asked them, well, you are considered as the representative of the minimalism, but the minimalism actually encouraging people reduce consumption. Okay, but the fact is, your company Muji, you still want people to buy more of your products. Actually, that is a conflict. Okay, it's very interesting. They couldn't answer my question. The fact is, they couldn't answer my question. Okay, so I want to share with everyone the minimalism, the lifestyle. But basically, we can see that the Muji's product have the very simple design. Okay, so here I want to share with everyone the fact is, the idea about that is they were hoping that they can have the simple design, simple living, while they can still have the high simple design, simple living, while they can still have the very high quality of life. And that's actually the main meaning of I think that nowadays the Muji was advocating. Okay. So now here we have the one question, the idea of the minimalism renovates with your own lifestyle preferences. Why or why not? Well, I think that minimalism, there were some people actually deeply believe the minimalism. Well, minimalism, in fact, is a lifestyle. It's your choice. But the fact is, you can force everyone to take this idea. Now going back to the business. Even though Muji was proposing minimalism, but the reality is, Muji still want to increase their sales. The fact is, they still want people to increase the consumption. Okay, so actually, it's in fact, to some extent, I would say that the Muji didn't want to, nowadays, they didn't want to emphasize too much on minimalism. We can simply say that Muji nowadays are advocating simple design. You can remove you can actually remove or let go of unnecessary decorations. Well, that's good. That's simple. That's actually the simple life we want nowadays. Okay. Could Muji promote minimalism globally? Well, I don't think so. In my personal belief, this is an idea. Like I said, some people can take it. Some people don't want to take a minimalist, a life of the minimalism. Okay, and at least I believe that some of you may not like the minimalism. You want a better life. Okay, so yes, this idea can be promoted. If we can interpret the minimalism as like reduce the waste, reduce the unnecessary the waste, I think that would be good. Okay, so I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm saying that it depends how you interpret this idea. But now I want to go back to Muji. Okay, so here we have this Muji. Muji was faced with a problem. Later I will share with everyone about what kind of the problem they were facing. The fact is, the company is, now let me jump directly to the slides, to the end. Actually, I want to jump directly to the end. So here, this is actually Mujiryushi, the Muji's the sales. You can see that their sales has been increasing. Oh, sorry about that. You can see that their sales has been increasing with their international expansion. Okay, but if you have a look at here in 2022, okay, if you have a look at this is the net income. The net income didn't actually increase a lot. This is actually a problem with the Muji. The way I see it is the company got stuck. They have made lots of the attempts, but some of the attempts, some of the new business ideas are not very successful. Okay, so now back to what I was saying here. I want to talk about this Muji's the problem. So as you can see that here, the changes. Okay, we have the several factors. Now Muji produced lots of the products, different kinds of the products. And the fact is, with these different kinds of products, they are competing with different competitors. Now, the very good example, they produce the clothes. Therefore, Muji was competing with Uniqlo, with Gap in Japan. When Muji was selling the food, they were competing with the Daiso, and also they were selling the fresh food. They were competing with supermarkets. Muji also had its own restaurant. Therefore, they were competing with the restaurant as well. Muji has a hotel. They were also competing with the hotel business. So what I'm saying is, in the case, to some extent, they have been doing they have the very wide range, the product portfolio, but the fact is they also competed with the different competitors. Okay. And also, I kind of feel that Muji has this big company disease. Lots of the decision-making process has been kind of slow. It's not that it's not easy for them to take the new strategies to deal with the new situations. Okay, so that's actually the internal factor I would like to talk about. The external factor, I just mentioned that. because they are in different areas. So they are competing with the different competitors. That's the Muji's the problem. Okay. So even though you can see that this company is increasing its overall sales, but the fact is its profit is not increasing. Okay. Now, Muji to some extent, they represent a recent change in terms of the national culture, Japanese culture. Okay. So for example, here you can see that Muji has several reforms or several new business ideas. I don't have to talk about the new business ideas. I don't have to explain them. But Muji basically, the idea behind their pricing, I think the very important thing is their pricing. The pricing is that because we have very simple and straightforward design, therefore our price is actually very economical pricing. We have good quality of the product, but our products are not expensive. Okay, that's the way they price their products. Okay, so here I want to mention about the Muji, and particularly I want to share with everyone about their recent challenges and also their recent attempts. Now here, this is the Muji houses. Okay, the fact is, I wonder whether some of you have seen the Muji house. This Muji house is located in Tokyo, and basically in this house you can see that the Japanese house normally is compact, small. Okay, but even though it's compact, the fact is within this house we have the house has everything. So now let me share this video with everyone.
They sure do.
So this is the Muji's house, and you can see that it's not a very big house, but the fact is inside the house everything is Muji. Everything is Muji. So they used this as a demonstration to tell everyone we have everything in your lifetime. All you need. We have all you need. And now I want to share with everyone about their recent supermarket expansion. Recently, they have been expanding to the supermarkets. Okay, and this is, of course, they were hoping to attract more the customers who like the good quality of the fresh food. Okay, so you can have a look at this video.
無印良品を運営する良品計画は今年9月以降、生鮮品や自社で開発した冷凍食品など食品の販売を充実させた新店舗をおよそ50店出店します。そのうちの半分はスーパーに隣接・併設した場所に出店し、スーパーの利用客の取り込みを狙います。新型コロナの影響でアパレルなどの売り上げが落ち込む一方、食品を扱う
So now let me stop here. You can see that Muji was stemming to the supermarket division. They were hoping selling more the fresh food, okay, vegetables, fruits. Unfortunately, the price was too high. When it comes to supermarket consumers, it's actually a red ocean. Red ocean basically means that consumers are always comparing prices, okay? And the fact is, even though you think that you have the higher quality, the food, but the high quality food, but the fact is, I can see that the sales was not going very well. Okay, so this is a newly attempt, but in my personal opinion, I don't think it's successful. Now another one here. Recently, Muji has opened a 500 yen shop. Basically, everything in this 500 yen shop is the 500 yen or below. Okay, so lots of products. They have the particularly chosen these items to be displayed in this store. So now let's have a look.
500円以下っていうのはちょっと手を出しやすいかなと思って結構なんかポンポン買っちゃう感じがちょっとあります。
JR 中央線三鷹駅構内にリニューアルオープンした無印良品500はおよそ7割が500円以下の日用品に特化した品揃えです。一部は500円を超える商品もあります。
やはりワンコインっていうのがお客様に気軽に提供できる。
So now let me stop here. Basically, recently Japan has lots of the stores competing in this market, and basically in addition to Daiso, Japan has a famous area Can-do, and also 3 coins plus, and also others. So what I'm saying is the Muji would like to is hoping that they can compete in this market. So they have the Muji the Muji 500 yen shop. Okay, and this is also the new attempt from the Muji. And also let's have a look. They also have other the new attempt. They want to step into the new business area. Now we learn that Japan is in fact aging society. So Japan has lots of abandoned houses, and then Muji was hoping that they can revitalize the abandoned houses. Basically, what they were doing, that what it was the thinking that if they can renovate these houses, and so they can come out with remodel all of these houses and then put it onto the Airbnb, they can attract interested customers. So we call this the guest house, or in Taiwanese we can say this 民宿. And they were thinking that they want to do this business. And again, Muji has its own pricing. They want, on one hand, they want to maintain high quality, but to some people, the price is simply too high. Okay, so now let me share with everyone about this new attempt, the guest house business.
こんにちは、ムジライクのレンです。皆さん、旅行の宿泊費は抑えていますか？旅行中はほとんど外へ観光に出ていて、あまり宿泊先のホテルにいない。泊まるところは寝れればいいという方にぴったりなのが Airbnb という民泊仲介サービスです。この動画では実際に泊まって感じた民泊のいいところや気になるところを解説していきます。では、早速やっていきましょう。民泊とは一般の方が所有している個人宅に泊まることを指しています。今までホームステイで留学生が一般家庭と一緒に暮らす形はありましたが、近年民泊に関する法の緩和により容易に簡易宿泊営業を取れるようになったことで、一般的な住宅を簡易宿泊所として提供する方が多くなりました。 Airbnb とは民泊仲介のウェブサービスです。
So this video actually introduced about the guest house business or the accommodation. This is actually a new type of the business. Basically, the particularly recently Japan has relaxed the law to about this guest house business, and it allows the lots of the people who have the real estate to rent out the apartments or rooms for a few days, and that's the idea behind this. Okay, Muji has been trying to step into this business. It's a new attempt. And then also here, I want to share with everyone about the 2 international strategies Muji has been taking recently. Number one is the localization. The localization, in fact, you can see that particularly in Taiwan, they were empowering the regional manager to include more local items. Now, this is the case that here you can see that some of you may discover in Muji, Taiwan, there are the local items. Some of the items you don't get to see in Japan. Okay, so first of all, you can see that it's a localization idea, and then they empower the store manager to decide if they feel that these local items can be also popular in Japan or in other countries. They can in fact sell the local items to Japan and also other countries. And that's the reason why here I'm saying that from the localization to internationalization. Okay, so the one example, this is in fact an example that other companies have been doing. A good example, this is a similar strategy being taken by Costco. So here we have the home in the Costco, Virginia. This is actually the Costco I visited. Okay, and of course we have the home in in Kaohsiung. So here, this is my home, the Costco. Okay, the fact is, in the past, that when I travel to the U.S., I always would bring lots of the Taiwanese the food to America. Okay, but nowadays you can see that the fact is that Costco Taiwan has been considered as one of the most profitable stores compared to other Costco stores. Okay, so they discovered that in Taiwan, why they can be so successful, and the main reason for that is they have not only they have international items, but also they have the local items. Some of the local items has been considered as the high quality. Therefore, the fact is Costco America actually was thinking that maybe we can sell the local items to Americans. So the fact is that I took this photo all by myself. I took all these photos by myself. Okay, and the fact is nowadays we don't have to bring all these these different kinds of Taiwanese food to the United States. The fact is we can purchase the different items in Costco US. Okay, so what I'm saying is this is in fact a similar strategy taken by Costco. Now the second strategy here is that Costco has been Muji has been doing the co-marketing. Okay, so in Taiwan, as you know, that you can, if you go to the PX Smart Quanlian, the fact is you can see the Muji's products displayed in Quanlian in PX Smart. Okay, and in Japan, Muji was also doing the business. They were selling their products in Lawson, the convenience store. Well, the way I see it is this is a good attempt. Unfortunately, I feel, in my personal opinion, I don't think it's successful, because the people go to PX Smart actually are looking for bargain. They simply want to buy the cheaper price, the lower price, the products. And Muji's the price, in fact, is considered the higher, but with the quality. So a lot of times I said in the Muji division, I don't see lots of the people there. And this is in fact the same in Lawson, Japan. Lawson has displayed the Muji's items, but the business wasn't very good. So yes, they have been doing this, but recently, even though Muji has made so many attempts, the various attempts, the fact is I discovered, yes, they may have increased their sales, but the fact is the more attempts means more cost or more expenses. And that answers the question, why here in 2022, the fact is you can see that they have increased their sales a lot, but the fact is the net income didn't increase proportionally. That explains this. What does it mean? It implies that their recent attempts were not very successful. That's so the way I see it is Muji probably will need the need to restructure its cost structure and maybe cut down the unprofitable business. Okay. So I hope I have to make it clear to everyone. I can see that I received lots of the messages here. I don't know if I can answer all of your questions because it's close to 10. No, in Taiwan's time, it's close to the 9 p.m. So I think that we have a few minutes that I want to leave the time. And maybe I can take 1 or 2 questions if you want to ask. There are too many words. I'm getting old. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. So there, the questions in the chat box, the letter size is very small. So I want to leave the remaining time to the students who actually ask the questions. Okay. Any questions? So maybe I can give you my personal opinion.
Hello, Professor. My question is related to dimension approach, and we were mentioned about the womanomics in Japan, and the words showed up because of they are lacking the labor force, so they wanted to encourage women to get into the workplace, and it seems like they have failed in a political field. So I wonder, since you are living in Japan right now, so do you observe any kind of like a situation that this kind of phenomena also happens in business, like or in school? I wonder.
Pretty much. And the main reason for that is in business, lots of the females employees would stop their career after they got married, and then they would go back home. Therefore, there are not many female employees getting into the management position. That's one reason. And another reason for that is this country is still very conservative. Let me give you one example. In the university, male students would go to school. And the fact is, you can see that in university, if they go to izakaya, if they go to izakaya, female students will have to pour the wine for male students. I mean, it's absurd from Taiwanese perspective. Why female students will have to pour the wine if you go to izakaya? You have to serve the male students. Why? For me, this is unbelievable. But unfortunately, that's the culture. Okay. So if you ask me, are they changing? Well, it's not easy for them to change this culture. And the fact is, in business, you don't get to see many female managers. At university, you don't get to see you don't get to see many the female professors making important decisions. That's the case.
So I wonder that, like in exchange, do they actually increase their foreign labor to like take place of the lack of women labor forces?
Internationals, yes. Nowadays there are more internationals in Japan. My personal opinion is that the changing is still slow. Sometimes I feel that the whole system, not Japanese, but the whole system is not very friendly to internationals, to foreigners. Sorry, that disappoints you. If you want to work here, or if you feel that, for me, I have never had this problem because, well, I'm ever since I was study abroad in the United States, my professor told me that, George, you are strong. Yes, I'm strong. Anyone ever treat me differently, I would take it. I would take it back, and that's me. So I don't feel. But the fact is, I want to tell everyone, the system is not very friendly to foreigners. Sorry.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. One last question. Okay. I'm sorry that there are so many messages. In the chat box, and I'm sorry I cannot answer all of your questions. But here I want to leave the last question. Anyone, if you would like to ask maybe the last question. No? Okay. If no questions, let me choose one from here. Here the last question here I have from Eric. Eric was asking how they can the balance between internationalization and localization. Well, on one hand, I think that Muji is still an international brand. They remain, they want to make it to some extent very much a representative of Japanese culture. On the other hand, they also want to make it an international business. So they try to accommodate some local rules. Now, for example, in Taiwan, they know that Taiwan has the aging society problem. So now Muji in Taiwan will hiring more aged or the retired workers for them to start to restore their career. So what I'm saying is the Muji has been doing to some extent, they want to maintain to some extent they still want to maintain this is a Japanese business. Now please understand, Japanese companies are very proud that they are Japanese. So they want to make people understand this is the Japanese business. On the other hand, they can also recognize that some of the local cultures. So that's the reason why you can see that in Muji Taiwan or Muji other countries, they are including more local items. Okay. So yes, I believe the company is trying to balance the internationalization and also the localization. I hope that I have answered your questions. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I think it's about time. Today we have I'm talking too much, and I hope you have enjoy and also maybe you have learned something from this talk. Okay, and I want to end my talk here. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you for Professor Won for dedicating your time and expertise to the topic of today's presentation, Culture and Corporate. So this is the end of the speech, I think. So should we take a photo or something? Like TA, you need to take a photo or something? Is it okay?
Yes. So please, everyone, open your camera and I'm gonna take a screenshot of it. Okay, say cheese. Okay. Thank you all for today thank you for your cooperation, and we end here. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.